Okay, this is video number 8 in a series of 9 to help you with the number patterns question in the IB exam. So again, we've got a weird rule with a fraction in it, and what we really need to do is think separately about the numerator and the denominator. Now, hopefully you can see that the numerator is always 1. That's something I could write down as one of my patterns in words. So the numerator of, I've called it V this time. V is always 1. And what's happening to the denominators? They're going 6, 12, 24, 48. So they're doubling every time. So I can write the denominator of V is doubling each time, or each one is 2 times the previous one. Something in kind of plain everyday language rather than getting too algebraic. So, having observed that pattern, I can make some predictions for the rest of the table. 1 over 96, 1 over 192, 1 over 384, 1 over 768. So, a few marks there for just filling that in. Now let's try and establish a rule for this whole thing. Well, let's just think about the denominators at the moment. Clearly, they're doubling every time. So the first one, so the denominator is going 6. 6 times 2. 6 times another 2, so 6 times 2 squared. 6 times 2 cubed. 6 times 2 to the power of 4. So hopefully, having done a few geometric sequences, you can see the pattern here. The 100th one would be 6 times 2 to the power of 99. And generally, the denominator is always 6 times 2 to the power of n minus 1. So that gives us the denominator, but the actual thing we're looking at is 1 over that. So the algebraic rule is V equals 1 over 6 times 2 to the power of n minus 1. So now let's test and verify that. When n equals 3, my rule says V equals 1 over 6 times 2 to the power of n minus 1, which is 1 over 6 times 2 to the power of 3 minus 1, which is 1 over 6 times 2 squared, which is 1 over 24. And that does indeed match the value in the table, so we can make the observation this matches the value in the table. Always make that observation. It's often worth a mark, and it's a silly thing to lose a mark for if you don't. Okay, verifying is just the same thing, but higher up the table. So when n equals 7, my rule says V equals 1 over 6 times 2 to the power of 7 minus 1, which is 1 over 6 times 2 to the power of 6, which is 1 over 6 times 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, which is 1 over, gosh, do this in my head, 384. And that matches the value in the table. So once again, make the observation this matches my predicted value in the table, and you should be good for most of the marks.